In the time when the world was still learning how to sing, the people of the earth lived scattered across vast distances. Families dwelt in isolation, villages knew nothing of their neighbors, and the great forests and rivers seemed to divide rather than connect the children of humanity. The people had voices, and they used them well for speaking and calling, but they had not yet discovered the secret that would unite them across all distances. They could share words with those near them, but how could they speak to those beyond the horizon? Kwame was a young man who felt this separation more deeply than most. His village sat at the edge of a great forest, and he often climbed the tallest tree to gaze across the canopy, wondering about the smoke that rose from distant clearings.
There are people out there,
He would tell his grandmother.
but we might as well be living on different worlds.
His grandmother, Nana Akojua, was wise in the ways of listening.
Child, Niam has given every creature a way to call to its own kind. The elephant has his trumpet, the lion has his roar, the bird has his song. Surely humans, who are made in the sky god's image, have been given something as well.
Kwame pondered this. He tried shouting from the treetops, but his voice could not carry far enough. He tried building fires that sent smoke signals, but the messages were unclear. He even tried training birds to carry messages, but they flew where they willed, not where he hoped. One night, as Kwame sat by the fire feeling discouraged, he heard something that made him sit up straight. From the forest came a deep, rhythmic sound, thump, 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 thump. It was not quite like anything he had heard before.
Grandmother,
He whispered.
what is that sound?
Nana Akojua tilted her head, listening with the patience of years.
That, my child, is the forest itself teaching you.
Following the sound, Kwame ventured into the darkness with only a torch to light his way. Deeper and deeper he went, until he reached a clearing where an enormous baobab tree had fallen during the last great storm. The hollow trunk lay across a ravine, and the wind blowing through it created the mysterious sound, deep, resonant, speaking in a language older than words. But there was more. As Kwame approached, he saw that small forest spirits, no bigger than children, with skin like bark and eyes like stars, were gathered around the fallen tree. They had stretched animal hide across the hollow opening and were beating on it with their hands, creating rhythms that seemed to make the very earth pulse with life.
Young human,
Called the eldest spirit, her voice like rustling leaves.
you seek a way to speak across distances that divide your people.
Kwame nodded, too amazed to speak.
We have watched humans struggling to call to each other.
Continued the spirit.
Your hearts beat with the same rhythm, but you have forgotten how to listen to it. This fallen tree offers itself as a gift. Its voice can carry farther than any human call, and its rhythm can speak to the deepest parts of the human spirit.
The spirits began to work, and Kwame watched in wonder. They hollowed out the tree trunk with tools made of hardened starlight, shaping it with care and reverence. They selected the finest hide from an antelope who had died peacefully of old age, stretching it across the opening with sinews that sang as they tightened.
But this is not just any drum. This is a talking drum, one that can speak in the language of the heart. Watch.
She began to beat on the drum with skilled hands, creating patterns that seemed to tell stories. The sound was deep and rich, carrying across the forest like the voice of the earth itself. But more than that, Kwame could somehow understand what the rhythms were saying. They spoke of joy and sorrow, of calling and answering, of the connection between all living things.
Now you try.
The spirit said, offering him the smooth wooden sticks used for playing. Kwame's first attempts were clumsy, but gradually he began to feel the rhythm that lived in his own heartbeat. As he played, he discovered that different beats could express different meanings: quick, light taps for joy, slow, deep sounds for sorrow, complex patterns that seemed to ask questions and others that provided answers.
How will this help my people communicate?
The eldest spirit smiled.
Each village will learn to make its own drum, but all will speak the same language of rhythm. When your drum calls out across the forest, other drums will answer. Messages will travel from village to village faster than any runner could carry them. But more than that, when people gather to hear the drums, they will remember that they are all part of the same great rhythm of life.
As the first light of dawn began to filter through the trees, the spirits faded like morning mist, but the drum remained. Kwame carefully carried it back to his village, where he demonstrated its wonders to his amazed people. Soon, the sound of Kwame's drum was calling across the forest. And wonder of wonders, other drums began to answer from distant villages. It seemed that other young people in other places had received similar gifts from the forest spirits, or perhaps they heard Kwame's drum and were inspired to create their own. Before long, a network of communication spread across the land. Drums called out news of births and deaths, warnings of storms, invitations to celebrations. Young people learned to court each other with drum beats that spoke more eloquently than words. Elders passed down the histories of their people through rhythmic stories that could be heard and remembered more easily than spoken tales. But the greatest magic of the drums came when people gathered together. When multiple drums played at once, something extraordinary happened. Individual rhythms wove together into complex harmonies that seemed to lift the human spirit toward the divine. People found that they could express emotions too deep for words, could share experiences that connected them across all boundaries of family, village, or tribe. Kwame became the first master drummer, traveling from village to teach others the sacred art. He learned that the spirits had been right. The drum spoke to something fundamental in human nature, something that recognized rhythm as the language of life itself.
Every human heart beats like a drum.
He would tell his students.
When we play together, we remember that we are all part of one great song that Niam is composing through our lives.
Years later, when Kwame was an old man with hands gnarled but still skillful, he would sit with his own grandchildren and tell them the story of the first drum. And always, he would end with the same lesson.
The drum teaches us that we are never truly alone. Somewhere, across any distance, other drums are beating with the same rhythm that beats in your heart. Listen for them and add your own voice to the great conversation that connects all humanity.
To this day, when the drums begin to speak in an Akan village, people stop what they are doing to listen. For they know that in those rhythms, they hear not just music, but the voice of community itself, the sound of human hearts beating together in the eternal dance of connection and shared life.